Welcome back to Cynthia Untamed. This is your youthful and educational platform where we have conversations with and about children and young people in Africa, and we aim to inspire the current generation of leaders across the continent. So please do remember to tell a friend to tell a friend. Today, we will be talking about how to teach children to be leaders of service. Remember, this is a platform that is inspiring the current generation of leaders across the continent. When I was a child, we used to be told, you are the leaders of tomorrow. But now working with children, I have realized that children are not the leaders of tomorrow. They're actually the leaders of today. And the only way to prepare them for the future is to ensure that we nurture them today, now, not tomorrow, today, so that we can have brilliant people who are leading our organizations and leading our countries in the future. I know we live in a country and in an economy and in a world whereby academics is everything. And I will not discredit the power of education. I will not discredit the power of getting good grades, because remember, getting a good grade in class 8 is really the only way for you to transition to Form 1. And the only way for you again to transition into a higher institution of education is for you to excel in your Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education here in Kenya. If you're anywhere across Africa, I know there's usually that final paper you do before you transition to the next level. So I will not discredit that. But I'd like to point emphasis onto the importance of non-formal education. Formal education is where it's the usual system. You go to class, there's a teacher, you do exams and all that. But there's also the non-formal education. Non-formal education could come about through scouting, it could come about through participating in the President's Award, it could come through participating in other co-curricular activities like sports, drama, music, all those things that are done outside of the classroom. Those things are just so important because they enable your child, your sister, your brother to get the skills that they will not get in class. Let me tell you the truth, no teacher is going to come to class. Well, very few teachers will come to class and teach you how to socialize. Like there's a whole topic on how to socialize. They're not going to do that. But the only way you learn how to socialize with people is if you actually leave the classroom, and if you as a parent allow your child to leave the classroom once in a while to participate in those co-curricular activities. Trust me, never discredit the power of co-curricular activities. If you've looked at US universities, when you're applying to these schools, they're always asking what co-curricular activities did you participate in, what makes you a leader. And trust me, if you've just been in class, then there's no way you're going to respond to those questions. So the only way to enable children to learn how to be leaders of service is to enable them to also get out of the classroom. You need to teach children to face their fears. And this child does not have to be yours. It could be your sibling, it could be your cousin, but basically any child that you have access to. Teach them to face their fears. The other day, I was able to hike Mount Longonot. Claps for me. I was able to hike Mount Longonot and also go around the crater. And you know, as we were going up, we met a family. And let me tell you what impressed me about this family. It was the mother, the father, and kids who looked like they were all under 10 years. And they had actually hiked to the top. I was so impressed. I've never seen such a thing. I have never seen such a thing. And you know, if a child has a fear of heights, one of the ways of enabling them to overcome that fear of heights is to take them to the highest point possible so that they're also able to overcome some of these fears. You have to be the guiding force for your child so that they face those fears. Don't allow somebody else to come to their lives to push them out of their fears, because you never know. These people could harm your child, they could harm your siblings, they could harm your nieces and your cousins and all that. So take responsibility and enable your child to face their fears so that they're able to grow up as courageous individuals. Please allow children to take up leadership opportunities in school. In schools, there are lots of them. It could be leading a club, it could be leading the school as a school captain, as the head boy, head girl, dining hall captain, whatever leadership opportunities exist. And you know why that's important? It teaches your child at a very early age to be responsible. Let me tell you, there are people you will find, they actually have powerful positions and they are so irresponsible. You cannot trust them with anything at all. And enabling them to explore those opportunities at a very early age will tell them that when I grow up, I don't want to just be a doctor. I actually want to be a person who leads. I want to be somebody who creates opportunities. I want to create solutions. I want to be innovative. So allow them to take those leadership opportunities in school. The other way to allow children to be leaders of service in the future is to expose them to leaders, is to expose them to people who will actually bring out that gift from them. Remember in my last video, if you've not watched it, I was talking about why it's important for you to participate in leadership trainings and fellowships. So one of the ways you can expose your child or the child in your life to these leaders or to people who can influence them positively is to allow them to participate in such programs. I know, for example, in Kenya, you can easily find them in communities. For example, I see them a lot in the churches where they say on this and that Sunday, the children of this parish are going to be doing this and that, and we'd like for you to encourage your child to come. You see, the more you allow them to go out there and meet people who are not necessarily those they would interact with every day, they're able to learn other things. Sometimes they'll be in a space whereby a doctor who inspires them is actually there, and they'd be like, oh, I want to be a doctor someday. I remember, for example, when I was in school, I had the privilege of seeing these leaders coming to a school every month. I believe every month, every week, there was a leader in society who would come, and the more I listened to them, the more I wanted to explore the opportunities that existed. I remember we had judges who would come to school, and some of these judges were actually the heads of our parent teachers associations. So they talk about leadership. They tell us if you want to be a leader in society, if you want to succeed, you can actually do A, B, C, and D. The other way for you to allow your child to be exposed to leaders is you just have to allow them to read. Read more books. When I was in high school, I used to read a book called Life Journeys, Seeking Destiny, Conversations with High Achieving Women in Kenya. And that book exposed me to 73 women leaders in Kenya. And that is how I started aspiring to be a leader in Africa. So sometimes it's not rocket science. It's really using the tools and the resources that you have. You cannot underestimate the power of media. I know children right now have access to TikTok, they have access to Instagram, they have access to all sorts of media. But you can actually also teach your child to watch programs that build their leadership potential. For example, there's this program on Nation called NTV Generation 3, and it's a children's program. And a few weeks ago, they were running a series of where children were speaking about how the food system in Kenya can be transformed. And they had been asked, if you were to meet the president today, what would you tell him in order for him to transform the food system in Kenya? The food system is basically how the food moves from the farm all the way to your stomach. There's a whole chain. First it's planted, then it grows, then it's harvested, then it's sold, then it has to be preserved at some point. Probably if it's a banana, it will be fried, it will be turned into some sort of a snack. There's that whole process. And these children were actually able to share their opinions. Now imagine the child in your life watching a program like that. They actually say, oh, so when I become a leader, I'm actually able to share my opinions with people of influence in society like the president. So that's why you should enable them to watch programs, even on Netflix, wherever you can find these programs really. Sometimes if it's not the TV programs, it's also like taking them to the theater where you find that there are shows that are actually teaching them some principles of life and some principles of leadership. Those things really, really help children. I mentioned earlier that there was a book I was reading in high school, and that's why I really want to emphasize on the importance of taking the children in your life to a local library, because sometimes some of these books are expensive. Well, not some, majority are actually very expensive books. I remember when I was younger, we used to go to the Kenya National Library, and we used to spend many times we used to spend Saturdays there reading books. And I'm telling you, I really enjoyed, actually really loved the children's section, because there are just lots of books. Today there was a book about Princess Diaries. The next day it was a book about a hyena that lied to somebody, or there are just so many interesting childhood stories. And let me tell you, constantly taking your child to the library will also enable them to think beyond the textbook, because in school most of the time they won't tell you to buy certain storybooks. They'll only tell you to buy A, B, C, and D textbooks. So the library will also enable them to read these books. And the good thing with the library is that they'll also be able to borrow books. I remember sometimes we used to borrow, and we'd be allowed to borrow them for 2 weeks. So that meant that we used to go back to the library sometimes weekly or sometimes after 2 weeks. And I really, really enjoyed that experience. And I remember that also enabled me to be a very fast reader. My teachers used to like me because of that, because I was a very fast reader. And I remember I would even participate in international literacy days at the Kenya National Library when I was younger. So please allow the children in your lives to read. We want leaders who are honest, people who don't lie to us. And the only way that they're going to do that is if you teach them about honesty from a very early age. Let me give a very easy example. You remember that question we used to be asked in Christian religious education, where they used to ask, if you're walking and you find a 50 shillings note on the ground, what do you do with that 50 shillings note? Do you take it and keep it in your pocket, take it and buy mandazi, take it to the head teacher? What do you do with that 50 shillings note? And trust me, it's basic principles like those that will teach your children about honesty. They will learn that when they hold when they hold positions of service, when they hold powerful positions, they will not be the ones who are stealing money from us. We want honest leaders, and the only way is for them to learn early how to be honest, and to continuously allow them to be exposed to the right people, because sometimes you could be teaching your child to be honest, but then these other people they just interact with, strange people who teach them other behaviors that you're like, no, how did this person even learn all these things? So please teach children how to be honest, and that's one of the other ways that they will be leaders of service. Wherever possible, whenever possible, allow them to take initiative. I've seen lots of kids who you find that they run a tree organization in their school. They're the ones who lead other kids to plant trees. Please allow your child to take initiative where possible, whenever possible, because we want leaders of service who are able to take initiative, who are able to think about the solution first before they start asking, now what do we do? What's going to happen? Please, we don't want people asking such questions all the time. We want people who are also giving us solutions. So enabling them to take initiative. If they say that they'd like to visit a children's home, they want to contribute to that, allow them to take it up. There's somebody who was telling me about their daughter who plays the musical instruments, the violin and all that. And this child had actually identified a group of children in informal settlements who needed some sort of financial support. And imagine this child organized a concert in their school, and because the parents in that school can afford to come to that concert, the parents came and they paid a fee where the musical band in the school was playing, and the parents were giving money, and all that money that was raised went to the children in the informal settlement. Can you imagine that? And this was I think a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old. And I'm like, that's the kind of leader I want to see. That's the kind of child I'd want to raise at some point. Those are the kinds of children that I want to interact with. And you know why taking leadership is so important? Because it also helps your child to help themselves. We don't want children who are constantly dependent on others. And let me tell you, the best news about this story is that this girl actually got a scholarship to go study in Yale. Yale University, guys. Some of us just dream of Yale anyway. Maybe we'll get there at some point, but I'm just giving you that as an example. I know there are also many other factors contributing to her success, but at least I heard of that story where she took initiative to raise money. And please allow your child to be a leader of service. Overall, I think this theme is coming out in all the points I'm talking about, but I will emphasize it. Be the guiding force. Be the guiding force, whether you are the biological parent of that child, or the guardian, or the foster parent, the brother, the sister. As long as you're the person who's in the position of authority in that child's life, please be the guiding force. If you've watched a documentary about Malala is an education activist from Pakistan, but she lives in the UK, and she constantly talks about her father being the guiding force of her life. I believe she's even written a book called He Named Me Malala, and she always talks about her father, how her father inspired her to be an education activist, because her father was running a school, and in that school he also used to allow girls to go to that school. And remember, in some countries of this world, girls and women are not allowed to go to school and improve their lives. So you can imagine her father encouraged her to keep going to school. Her father encouraged her to thrive, and she became an education activist for children. And I believe still as of now, she's still the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. So I'm not telling you that your child has to be the next Malala or the current Malala or anything. All I'm saying is that you have to be the guiding force for your child, because remember, your child is actually going to pick up your own behaviors. If you are the thief, your child will be the thief. If you're the leader, your child will be a leader. So please choose one and enable your child to thrive. My last point, please, I implore you, affirm your child. There are many children, and probably it's you watching as a young person, who look for affirmation from other people because you did not get the affirmation you needed from the home. It's probably because where you were growing up, you were constantly told you will never succeed, you're stupid, look at you, what's wrong with you. You were constantly told all the negative things possible. And of course, that has affected you, but I want to tell you, you are not alone. You will thrive. But as a parent, please, if you're used to saying such things, I want you to stop right now. Now, stop it. Stop all those things you're saying, because your child will listen to you. If you call them a ng'ombe, they will believe they are a ng'ombe. If you call them Superman, they will believe they are Superman. So choose the words that you tell yourself, you tell yourself and you tell your child, because I've also realized some of these things parents say is actually a reflection of how they feel about themselves. So please work on your own traumas so that you can also affirm your child. Tell them they can be a leader. Tell them they're going to thrive. Tell them they're confident. Tell them they're beautiful. Tell them they're smart. They're courageous. They will excel. Please tell them all the positive things possible, because you want leaders in society who are confident. They're confident in their ideas. They're confident in their speech. They're confident in their thoughts. Those are the kinds of leaders we are nurturing today. And because we are talking about nurturing children to be leaders of service, allow the child or the young person in your life who's between the age of 10 and 24 to participate in the UNICEF at 75 Wisdom Project competition for young people. This is a partnership between UNICEF Kenya and the Nation Media Group that will allow the children and young people in your life to interview an elder in their community about the experiences of childhood over the last 75 years. We've got lots of prizes in store, and you never know, if you win, if that child wins, they'll get to be published by the Nation Media Group and lots of other prizes. So please tell a child or a young person who's between the age of 10 and 24 to apply for this competition by the 15th of October. I'm really looking forward to seeing those submissions. If you'd like to find more information on the challenge, please check the link in the description bar below. And if you have any questions, just comment below and I will try as much as possible to respond to them. Thank you for being part of Cynthia Untamed. I hope that you have learned a lot. Please share any more tips on nurturing children to be leaders of service. Follow me on Instagram at CynthiaOprah_Nyongesa, on Twitter at Cynthia_Oprah, and check out the stories of young changemakers in Africa on CynthiaUntamed.com. And I will see you in the next episode.